All right, week 3 college football breakdown here. Late night game on the West Coast. USC hosting Fresno State. Seeing this line at 12.5, very high total here. This total's been bet up all the way to 73.5. And listen, I totally agree with that move towards the over. USC is a team that last week was their first kind of real look with all the new pieces they brought in offensively. Caleb Williams, Travis Dye, Jordan Addison, Brendan Rice, Mario Williams. It was the first time against kind of a real opponent that we were able to see them in action. Thought they looked really good offensively against Stanford. They put up 35 points in the first half. Kind of had that game under control, ran some clock in the second half. There's really no reason why I wouldn't expect them to have success in this one. I do think just in general that this is a USC team that it's going to have some head-scratching performances just because this is the first time all these guys are playing together, first-year coaching staff. There's just not a lot of continuity on this team. So I'm not going to claim to have a great feel on USC just because I do think there's a lot of variance with them. With that being said, Fresno didn't really inspire much from me last week when they played Oregon State to make me think that in this kind of major step up against, a much more dynamic offense that they're going to fare all that well. With that said, Fresno State is a program that lives for playing these Pac-12 games. If you remember last year, they went to the Rose Bowl. They played UCLA. That was actually a healthy UCLA team that was pretty good and got off to a good start to the year. Jake Haener had a superhero kind of performance in that game, and Fresno State pulled the outright upset. Fresno State could have easily won that game against Oregon State last week. So this is a team that prides itself on hanging tough when stepping up in competition and playing these Pac-12 opponents. I'm really not sold on USC defensively because, listen, did win that game pretty handily at Stanford last week, but Stanford had a few really key turnovers early in that game. I mean, Tanner McKee threw a pick on the goal line, just some really inopportune turnovers that kind of thwarted their chances of winning that game, but, still put up 450 total yards of offense, and they're not really a dynamic team either. So that kind of said something. I could see a world where Jake Haener has a ton of success in this game. This is another team with a lot of continuity at running back, a lot of continuity at wide receiver. I'm going to say this. The one thing that's holding me off of playing this over is I do worry a little bit about Fresno State's offensive line. I talked about this on last week's breakdown when I broke down that Oregon State game. It's really just kind of the one glaring weakness of this team. Didn't really get exploited in that game against Oregon State. This is the type of matchup, though, where I do think USC can get after the passer. My issues with them are much more in their back seven, and this is kind of a general rule of thumb. If last week's game against Texas didn't show you anything, it's that I don't care who's playing quarterback. I don't care who you've got at running back. I don't care if you've got a wide receiver. We saw Alabama not be able to move the ball offensively because they were getting dominated up front. Offensive line is an incredibly important position that virtually nobody knows about as far as how good is this team's offensive line. I do worry about Fresno's offensive line, and so that could thwart them from being able to go tit for tat with USC. I do still lean to the over 73.5. It's pretty unlikely to make my card. Card's kind of solidified here on Thursday at this point. I've actually already released 4 best bets here for week 3. Gave those out this morning here on Wednesday. Plan to have the rest of my week 3 card out by Thursday. Main place you can follow to see what I'm on officially is Twitter. Follow me there at Fordham Betting. One more thing, guys. Check out proud90.com for all your golf apparel needs. You see this shirt right here. I know you've been staring at it the whole time. They got unique but very comfortable polos as well. They got t-shirts, hoodies, quarter zips. Browse their selection, and if you see anything you like at checkout, use code Fordham. It's going to get you 15% off your order. The rest of the information will be in the description below. Proud90.com, code Fordham. Support me, support Proud90, proud90.com. I'm not going to really claim to have a great feel on the side in this one. I think USC is an incredibly volatile team. The one thing I will say, and this kind of a look ahead, they play at Oregon State next week. I got that game circled. I'm just going to leave it at that. As far as this game, it's over or pass. Don't think it's going to make my card, but should be a high-scoring affair late night at the Coliseum.